myself that I've never had before, and I'm not willing to trade it in, even if going back would make my life more comfortable right now. And I remember just being so taken back by her level of awareness and her level of truth, even when life was so challenging for her. There were so many reasons why life would have been easier for her just to go back and like try to make it as best she could until something aligned better for her. She was like, no, I've already like done the hard work of facing all of this hell, all of this trauma. Going back to the situation that's already proven to have broken me once would not be in anyone's best interest. And I share that to say sometimes the kind thing for yourself might look like the harder path. It might look like not going back. It might look like being honest about something that you don't want to be honest about, right? Like I tell people all the time, I have an inner teenager, and we're going to talk a little bit about parts work today, who doesn't want to really do therapy. She's like, I don't need that. I shouldn't need that. I'm a trauma therapist. I don't need a trauma therapist. Like, she is spicy. And I often say to her, like, I love you, but you're 12. Like, you need the trauma therapist. I need the trauma therapist. And it's my gift to myself to give us this level of support that we didn't have back then, that we needed. And to refuse it now would be counterproductive and self-harming in a lot of ways, because we tend to get where we want to go faster by getting the support that we need, because a supported nervous system heals, expands, becomes more agile, right? It can deal with life on life's terms better without shutting down, without exploding, when it has support, when it has constant, consistent support, because that's how we're wired. As children, if we're in safe environments with safe caregivers, there's something called object permanency, where a child begins to be able to count on safe people, safe environment, food, water, shelter, care, support when it's having a hard day, when it's sick, right? It begins to count on these pillars of safety in its environment. When we don't have that, our system, our nervous system, is consistently searching for those things, right? This is why when people are adopted, sometimes even when they have amazing families and they are just very blessed, right, to have had a good situation, they can still hit up against trauma later in life, and it can be unexplainable sometimes for them. Often when I work with people that were adopted, the attachment trauma comes in from the actual just event. A mammal child is searching for its biological mother, right, and father, and when that's not there, this inner GPS system is looking for that. So it's seeking something, but it doesn't have, that it can't put words to. But we can be in that same energy even when we are in our family of origin. If the parents are not emotionally available, if they're not physically available, if maybe you are being raised by other members of the family or nannies or whoever it is, right? You can be seeking something that you know that you need, but you can't quite even describe that thing. So we take these same patterns into our adult life. And our coping skills, right? I wish we had like a driver's ed test to get our license. I wish we had like a coping skills test where we would go in at 16 and trade in these first set of coping skills for an upgraded set of coping skills, but we don't. And so we take coping skills into adulthood that are not supportive. They helped us survive in our younger years, but they're not truly supportive as we get older and the stakes become higher, to be honest. And so as we lean into choosing kindness, self-kindness over self-judgment, and honestly choosing kindness in general over judgment in general, we will see so much change in our life. The other principle to really think about is focusing more on common humanity over isolation. What do I mean by that? When we focus on what we have in common, when we focus on what our similarities are over our differences, we are more likely to focus on this idea that we are greater, right? Together, we're greater than the sum of our parts. And the reality to that is, and there is actually a book called Greater Than Some of My Parts, that we can drop in for you. It's a book on parts work. But when we think about avoiding or leaning out of isolation, we're basically saying in community is where we're going to grow and regulate and attune. It's where we're going to have that nervous system support just by being in relationship with other people. Now, what's this look like on a practical level? It can look like a support group. This is why 12-step groups and fellowships can be so powerful. I know sometimes some can be a little cringy, right? But the foundation of it is good. And if we can create that in our life, whether it looks like that framework or maybe a little bit different framework, it's having people who are like-minded, who are growing in the same ways that you are, who are intentional about growing in the same ways that you are, and who are committed to living well, to making healthy decisions, and to transcending, right, the trauma, the pain. That's very powerful to be doing it in a group setting with other people. And so when we focus on humanity, we can even look at that perspective within ourselves. Like I often will say, if I feel like I'm doing a lot and I'm not taking enough breaks or caring for myself in the right way, or if I am just like depriving myself of something or just doing too much, I'll often take a step back and say, I am a human being, not a human doing. And because of that, it is safe for me to slow down. It is safe for me to do less. It is safe for me to ask for support, receive support, and that be okay. What do you need, baby?
Have you seen his dry food?
What's left is floating around here somewhere. Did you give him wet food?
Yeah, I just made it. So.
Thank you. That should be enough for now.
All right.
Thank you so much. You did good. When we think about this idea of focusing on humanity, we really are being asked to take a step back and look at our own humanity and how we can lean into compassion even around that, right? Sometimes when we think about isolation, it's easy to remember this as shame grows in isolation. Shame can become like such a beast because when we don't speak to it and when we don't acknowledge it, sometimes we don't even have words to acknowledge it, but when we are not aware that like we need other people, like we need water and oxygen. And if we can just accept that, we avoid